Would you be my girlfriend?
Welcome to another episode of The Curtis Zone. I am your humble and handsome host, Dylan J. Curtis, and I ask that you hit that like and subscribe button because today is a very special episode. Today we are doing an episode on X-Men Evolution. Now I know what you're thinking, it is a comic book series and we do not talk about comic book shows here on The Curtis Zone, but here's the thing. Like Batman Beyond, it did not have a lot of elements in actual X-Men continuity. In fact, 80% of it wasn't really related to X-Men continuity in Marvel comic books. Case in point, Gambit and Rogue's relationship wasn't explored very much. Storm did not have a nephew named Spike. They didn't use much of the Days of Future Past saga, and they focused way too hard on the Apocalypse saga. So, we get to talk about it here on the Curtis Zone. So, let's get started. But before we do, news anyone? The first piece of news is from the world of Deadpool and Wolverine. It has been reported that Deadpool and Wolverine will be the longest running Deadpool movie in history. I cannot wait. You guys cannot wait. I know that I talk about Deadpool and Wolverine a lot, but hey, everyone is excited for that film as much as I am. Yet another piece of news from the world of Transformers and G.I. Joe. Another character is looking to be cast, and that character is known as Heavy Duty, and it is down to 2 people to play him. One of those guys being Shamar Moore, who you may remember from SWAT, the other being Terry Crews, who you may know from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Personally, I want Shamar Moore to do it. Let's face it, the guy has way more range. The final piece of news, yet another piece of news from the world of Marvel. X-Men 97 has been such a huge success in the world of the MCU that they have no choice but to do another season. Just like a lot of other shows that came before it. Alright, let's talk about X-Men Evolution. And remember, hit that like and subscribe button, my friends. Now, the first thing you need to know about X-Men Evolution is that it had its first episode in April 4th, 2000, and had its final episode in October of 2003. It was a huge part of Kids WB and Cartoon Network. Before it was moved to Disney, this is before it was bought by Disney. I'm sorry, this before Marvel was bought by Disney. Now, X-Men Evolution was not very well received at first until the first 19 episodes of it. It lasted 52 episodes and it was pretty fun to watch in my opinion. X-Men Evolution was developed for television by Martin Eisenberg and Robert Skirn. In my opinion, it was like one of the funnest shows to watch because it had a lot of great stuff in it. A lot of great stuff that made X-Men X-Men. Now that is enough with the non-fiction origin. Let's get into the fictional origin, shall we? And remember, like and subscribe. Years ago, a man named Professor Charles Xavier would meet a man known as Eric Lehnsherr. The two of them, who are on opposite sides of how mutants should be respected in the world, they decided to go up against each other. Now, Charles Xavier believed that mutants should be gradually introduced into this world and treated as normal citizens, whereas Magnus, he believed that mutants should be superior to humans, and this led to a war between the two of them. Charles Xavier chose to teach the next generation of mutants on how to control their powers, whereas Magneto chose superiority. And thus, the rest is history, as everyone knows. Now let's move into some important moments in X-Men Evolution. The first important moment is this, about Season 1 itself. Season 1 itself was about the gathering, the coming together of all of the X-Men, including the heroes and the villains. We meet all of the characters that are in X-Men Evolution, from Cyclops to Kitty Pryde to Nightcrawler to Spike to Wolverine, Storm, the whole 9 yards. We even are introduced to the villains, the Brotherhood, Avalanche, Quicksilver, Toad, Blob, the whole 9 yards, my friend. It was amazing, fun, and cool to see. I hope that everybody watches it. The next important moment is when we meet Boulevard Trask, who in the X-Men comic books created the Sentinels. And he created a Sentinel in the X-Men Evolution and tested it up against Wolverine, which was a bad idea. This would lead us to another important moment when we met the Acolytes. Now, the Acolytes are basically a new version of the Brotherhood. Magneto formed them all together because he was displeased with the Brotherhood. He formed Colossus, Gambit, Pyro, and Sabretooth all together to fight against the X-Men. This would lead to a confrontation between the X-Men and the Acolytes, and then the X-Men and the Sentinel, which would lead to Season 3. The next important moment we're going to talk about is in Season 3, when mutants are now in the public eye. More specifically, the X-Men are now in the public eye. And because of this, they're getting a lot of scrutinization from all the students at Bayville High. This would include the fact that all the parents are not exactly happy with mutants going to the school with their kids. So, they're receiving a lot of backlash from it. But Professor X reminds them that they are still X-Men. They fight and defend people that hate and fear them. It's really what they do. The final important moment we're going to talk about is the relationship between Wolverine and Rogue. Here is the thing, Wolverine is like a father to Rogue. Everyone knows that Wolverine is like a father to Rogue, mostly because X-Men Evolution was based off the X-Men movies with Hugh Jackman and Anna Paquin and Halle Berry. Now, the very important moment that we're going to talk about between their relationship is in the episode where Rogue's powers go berserk and she starts turning into all the people that she has absorbed throughout her entire life, throughout the entire series. Now, this leads to the X-Men coming into confrontation with Rogue herself and all of them, and it ends with Rogue being in the hospital for like ever. Now, I only have 4 favorite moments and or episodes in X-Men Evolution. My first favorite moment is this. It is the episode known as Shadow Dance. Now, in this episode, Forge believes that Nightcrawler passes through another dimension when he teleports. And so he creates a device that will allow them to see that dimension. However, in creating that device, Nightcrawler accidentally brings a bunch of monsters from this dimension into our world. And this is before the big dance is coming up and Nightcrawler has a date. It is pretty fun, amazing to see. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. You got to watch it. My second favorite moment is the episode known as The Retreat. In this episode, Beast is going through a bit of a change in his life because he is, well, now a beast. So, he takes a group of students at the Xavier Institute to a vacation in the Redwood Forest. And in this episode, he is mistaken for, as, not even joking on this one, Bigfoot. And so he is captured, and all these other students who are X-Men save him, and then they save a group of hunters, and then they, well, save the day. My third favorite moment in the X-Men Evolution series is when Magneto takes on Apocalypse. Now, in this episode, we basically see how powerful Magneto is. Here's why. He brought down 2 orbiting satellites to take out Apocalypse. 2 of them at once, while at the same time flying himself over to Apocalypse. This basically shows how powerful Magneto is. It was pretty amazing. I hope that you guys liked it too. My final favorite moment is when we learn more about Wolverine's past, more specifically his past with Captain America. Now, at first I thought that this was a bit of a stretch because I thought it was just made for X-Men Evolution, but turns out it is canon to comic books. Because Wolverine served in World War II with Captain America as a part of the Howling Commandos. It was amazing to see it, and I loved it as much as any comic book fan would. I hope that you guys watch it. It'd be redundant to talk about powers and abilities of the X-Men, but it's here on the Curtis Zone, so let's do it anyway. The first person we're going to talk about is Cyclops, who, as we all know, has the ability to fire optic blasts from his eyes. Then you have Jean Grey, who has telepathic and telekinetic capabilities. Then there is Shadowcat, who has the ability to shift her density to walk through walls. You have Spike, who has the ability to shoot spikes from his body. Rogue, who has the ability to absorb other people's abilities. Wolverine, who has metal claws and a massive healing factor. Storm, who can control the weather. Beast, who has the ability of super strength, super agility, and super intelligence. You have Nightcrawler, who has teleportation capabilities. Then there are a lot of other characters in X-Men Evolution as well. There's Iceman with cryokinesis, Sunspot, who has the ability to generate limitless forms of solar radiation all over his body. You have Cannonball, who can turn his body into a massive well cannonball. There's Magma, who has pyrokinesis. Tabitha, or Boom Boom if you will, who has the ability to generate spheres of energy that can explode. And finally, there are a lot of other characters in X-Men Evolution as well, but I'm not going to talk about those guys. Let's just move on, shall we? And that brings another episode of the Curtis Zone to a close, ladies and gentlemen. I ask that you hit that like and subscribe button for more content if you want to see more of me, my smiling face, and of course more of my bouncing pecs. Now, remember, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to make a request for an episode, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll get back to you. I love you all, okay? And as always, we here on the Curtis Zone, we cannot wait for everything that you guys had to say. And as always, we want to thank our sponsors, Coastal Waste and Recycling, for sponsoring today's episode. And I love you all. I will see you soon. Just get in that like and subscribe button.